Prime Minister Hamdok, thank you so much for being here with us on DW News. You've taken over Sudan at a historical moment. The country is facing many challenges. Did you have any doubts about wanting to take this role?
Not doubts about. It's not really a personal wish. This is a wish that is responding to a call of duty. So I did not have a single doubt in responding to that, knowing so well it is full of challenges, it is dynamic, it is non-linear. You get it right today, you have problems and hurdles tomorrow. Taking this job was a response to the call of the nation. My people who have managed to give the world one of the probably very rare moments of change, particularly in our history, something that we equated to great moments in nation's history, equal to the fall of the Berlin Wall, years or centuries back, probably the French Revolution. That momentous change created the environment for me and many others to help building a new nation. It's a dawn.
I was in Sudan back in April at the sit-in in front of the military headquarters, and I saw many young people. They were full of expectation and hope from the government that eventually became your government. Do you feel like your government is living up to their expectations?
This is what makes us tick. The hope, the expectations about us, about the change, about the government by our people. We never promise that we are going to do this on our own. It's a shared responsibility. We rise and fall in this process together with one conviction that we have two options, either to succeed or succeed. And I think we are moving in that direction.
But a lot of young people that I've spoken to in the past couple of days say the things that they went to the streets for, like basic living conditions, including bread, these things have not been fulfilled. So do you think that the young people's expectations were too high?
No, their expectations were never too high. It's normal expectations by any government, by its people. But also I'm sure they understand, they appreciate. We inherited a daunting challenge, a legacy of 30 years. You cannot undo it overnight. But I think equipped with that conviction and determination, with our people working together, we had no doubts that we will be able to address this and overcome these challenges.
What do you tell to young people who perhaps are feeling impatient with the delivery of actual results to their lives?
One thing, let us work together to address these issues. Expectations is one thing, but let us address these expectations together. Our interests are aligned. We don't have different interests from theirs. Expectations the same. So let us join forces in addressing all these challenges together.
Sudan is being run now under unique cooperation between civilians and military. How is the cooperation between these two sides? Because it hasn't always been smooth, has it?
Yes. This is also another feature of the uniqueness of this Sudanese experiment. We are proudly propagating this across the world and calling it a Sudanese model, which is a partnership between the civilian and the military to build democracy, build solid foundation for democracy. This partnership is working. It is not free from challenges. There are so many challenges, but I think there is a determination on both sides to make it work. And we are doing that precisely. If you look at the region around us, the failures in many places, because I think they were not able to establish an accord that would allow such partnership to move the country forward. We know we are experimenting with it. We know, there is no transition that is smooth. Transitions are always messy, non-linear, and I think that in itself what makes it a very interesting experiment to be part of.
Do you trust the military side of your government? Do you trust them?
Absolutely, I do.
Because some young people that I've spoken to have said this military has been involved in the oppression and at some points even the killing of so many protesters.
I do appreciate the views that are expressed by our young people. Remember, these are young people who were subjected to all kind of oppression. You lived through that and you know it in the streets and all this for years, for decades. So that's why they have these views. But I think gradually we are building this partnership together. None of this, the equation, two sides of the equation, will be able to move on their own to build this new nation. We appreciate those views, but we are working together to address them.
Let's turn to the topic of the clearing of the sit-in in June and the people that were killed on the streets. A lot of them believe that the Rapid Support Forces were involved in this attack. When will these people see justice? Because so far some say the results just have not been up to what happened to the protesters on the streets.
I'm sure you know so well that the constitutional document which is guiding this transitional period has a very clear undertaking that we establish an investigation committee. So let us not jump to conclusion. That investigation committee formed from very respected lawyers and people in the legal field in Sudan. They started their work over 3 months now, and they're doing their work. Let them do their work and produce their report.
You recently requested that UN peacekeeping forces be deployed in the whole of Sudan. Why did you do that? Why is the UN needed now in Sudan?
Actually, let us put this into its proper context. We did not just woke up one day and said we want the UN to come to the country. The UN is there. We're not calling it.
But for the whole of Sudan?
The UN is there under Chapter 7. Meaning that is, if there is anything that you could closely call it loss of sovereignty, is what is happening today. What we are calling for is to move the UN from Chapter 7 to Chapter 6, which would allow us to express our wish. And if you could call it anywhere, dictate on the UN on our priorities, this is where we would like to create an opportunity where we tell the UN, this is what we want. We'd like you to come, do 1, 2, 3, 4, on our terms. The whole country approach is an idea we discussed in our national committee for a number of months. What it tells us in the past, the UN intervention in Sudan was compartmentalized. It is Darfur, it is a Blue Nile, it is the Nuba Mountains, South Kordofan, and all that. What we would like to see when we say whole country approach is addressing the challenges and the issues and the requirements and the objectives of the entire transitional period. This certainly has some agenda which is of national nature, of a whole country. When you talk about elections, you're not going to have them in Darfur. It will be the whole country. Constitutional conference. It will engulf the entire country. The process itself. We would like to enlist the support of the UN in those processes that of a national nature. That's why we call it a whole country approach. That support could be providing one advisor, could be providing technical support. Take an example, the election. Today, we would like to embark on a process that will conclude this transitional period with an election. The UN has accumulated experiences, technical and otherwise, across the globe. Support on addressing issues of election systems, an election system that will provide us with an opportunity to represent all our people. The UN could provide that. So it's not about entrusting this entirely to the UN. The funding of the elections, the UN has accumulated very rich experience in generating resources and funds to support the elections. So it's only perfect. And we are part of the UN. Huh? It's not like another body or something that's coming from somewhere.
Let's turn to the topic of the hour, the possibility of former President Omar al-Bashir to appear before the International Criminal Court. Will he be sent over to The Hague?
The idea of justice need to be served to the maximum satisfaction of the victim is something was well articulated in the constitutional transitional period document. We will definitely uphold that. There are 4 ways of addressing this. The ICC is one of them. ICC itself has so many levels. It could be an ICC in The Hague, could be an ICC compliant court that is in Sudan or in the region, transitional justice, issues of truth and reconciliation, compensation, individual and community. We are not going to rest until the victims, those victims, to be satisfied that justice not only being perceived but actually being served. And that is how we see it.
From what I understand, all options are now open. You still haven't decided whether it be in The Hague or in Sudan or in a regional court.
Yeah.
Are all options open?
Of course, this is something, the announcement of this was part of our peace negotiations. And I think this is something I want to tell you one thing. Any person who committed atrocities, criminal, financial, we will have to be tried. And that is our bottom line. We are working on rebuilding our judiciary system and all that. And we hope to have a credible, independent judicial system, Sudanese.
Let's talk about Germany and your visit to Germany. The past couple of days have been quite historic in Sudan-Germany relations. Concretely, how can Germany help Sudan in this case?
The meeting with the Chancellor, Her Excellency Angela Merkel, yesterday provided an opportunity for us to reflect, discuss in depth our interest, or mutual interest for that matter, and we agreed on concrete areas that Germany will work with us in supporting us, whether it is the economy, the energy sector, vocational training, mining, agriculture, and so many others. And we're very delighted. This is signaling a new beginning of this relationship, which has very high promise, and we look forward to this cooperation that would also allow other partners and friends and nations to follow suit what the German is doing.
You mentioned the economy. Sudan badly needs foreign investment. What are your plans to attract foreign investment to Sudan? Your government's plans?
Sudan is a very rich country. We don't want to live on handouts. We're so rich in the sense that if we are able to create the right climate, meaning getting it right in the legal sphere, independent judiciary system, respect for property rights and all that, and we are working on this, creating a one-stop shop for investors, creating an environment where serious, genuine investors come work with us, pay their taxes, and be able to repatriate whatever profit they make. And we're creating that environment, and we're very confident we'll get there.
Sudan is surrounded by many countries that have seen change because of popular uprisings, and many of them have descended into chaos. Is Sudan different?
Absolutely. Sudan is different in the sense that we are in this middle of, as you mentioned it, whether you call it the Sahel or the center of Africa. Sudan change is unique in many respects. It's peaceful. It has great hopes for the entire region. I call it getting it right in Sudan has a strategic impact and effect. You can imagine the spillover effect in the entire region. Impact in the north, to our west, south, and east. What we would like to see our friends and partners working with us, making this a success story. It has all the right ingredients of making it a success in the sea of misery and conflict around us. That's why it is a unique experiment, unique in nature and all that. And let us get friends and partners working with us. The world, and in that particular part of the world, is looking for success stories. that were absent for a long period of time. Sudan is giving that hope, is giving that opportunity. Let us grab it, let us work together on it, and make it the real success story that will change the face of that part of the world.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.